This is Dana and welcome back to Spark of Charm. Today I'm going to show you how to make a first birthday cake topper, and you can adapt this and personalize it using a name or any word you'd like, and you can also use this concept to make any number or any age. So the first thing we're going to do is start with a 5x7 canvas. You can certainly scale this up or down depending on the size of your cake and how big you want your cake topper to be. You could also make this portrait or landscape depending on if you want your cake topper to be a little bit taller or a little bit wider, depending on how many words you might be putting in, things like that. So for this one, it's pretty simple and it's going to be taller than it is wide. So I have a 5x7 canvas. To start with doing the text tool, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make this about 400 in font. I'm going to make my number 1, and I'm going to use my favorite serif font here. And it's important when you do this to use a serif font so that you are getting the flat base along the bottom that you will use to do your picks. And I'm actually going to just make this a bit bigger here. And one thing I want to do, because I want the stem of my 1 to be a bit wider just to give this more substance, is I'm going to morph this number a little bit and drag this over here. So now all I've done here is really just make the stem of my 1 a little bit wider just to make it more substantial as I'm making this. I'm going to put this to the side. The next thing we're going to do is make the text that goes down the side. So I'm going to use the word 1. You could certainly use the child's name or any other text that you would like. So I'm just going to make it 140 for right now. You'll see in a second that we'll size it how we want to fit. And I'm going to use my favorite script font for this, which is Sign Painter. I think this one has very clean lines and connections, and it really does well with cutting. So now I'm going to rotate this to the side so it can go along the side of my 1. I'm going to bring this over here. And I'm going to overlap this slightly because that's how we're going to union it. So I'm just going to get a sense of my size. And that looks pretty good there. Now, before we do anything else, we need to take the text and convert it to outlines so that it will outline the text with a stroke that the Glowforge can cut or your laser cutter can cut. So we'll select the text, go to type, and create outlines. Now I'm going to quickly make my fill blank, and I'm going to outline my strokes with black so we can see how our text is positioned here. We can see all of our stroke lines. We can also see where our letters overlap and need to be welded together. Now I am going to just move this up ever so slightly, just adjusting the positioning on that to be sure that I like how that is connected. And the last thing I'm going to do before we unite all of this is I'm going to make a little bit more of a base here on the bottom of my 1. I want to give this a little more substance. So I'm just taking the rectangle tool and putting a little bit extra there on the base. So now we're going to highlight all of these, go to our Pathfinder, and unite them. And we can see here that this is all united together. There was a slight piece in the middle here where this did not come out, so we're just going to delete that out. So now we have a nice clean stroke line all the way around that will cut. The final thing we need to do when making this cake topper is add our picks to the bottom. And you'll want to be sure that depending on the style of your topper that you're adding enough picks. So if you have a wider topper, you may want to add a 3rd pick. If your topper is very tiny, maybe you just need 1. For this one, we're going to use 2. And also, depending on the height and the material of your topper, you're going to want to be sure that you adjust the length to be sure you get a good sturdy fit into your cake. So to make the picks, we are going to start with our rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw it out here. Just kind of eyeballing this right now. There will be a little bit of trial and error as you figure out the sizing. I strongly recommend drawing this out on paper so you can get a sense of the size, and then you can use your rulers in Illustrator to do this. But I've made some of these before, and I know that this is about the size that works for me, a couple inches here. So we're going to make that rectangle, and then we are going to select it. We're going to go to Object, Path, and add anchor points. And then now we can edit these anchor points. And for this one here at the bottom, I'm going to double click it, and I'm just going to drag it down to a point to make it easy to go into our cake. I'm going to bring this pick in from the edge just a little bit here. And then now I'm going to select it, copy, make a second one, and do the same thing over here to the right and get those two lined up. Now again, we want to weld this all together, so it's one cut. Select it all, unite, and there you have it. You have a quick, simple cake topper. You can cut this out of acrylic. You can cut it out of pattern ply. I think this would look great with mirrored acrylic or a fun sprinkle print pattern ply. And let me just throw a fill in here so we can see what it looks like filled in. So this is what your cake topper will cut out like. And again, you can make any word you want along here. I did another variation of this with my son's name, James, and it came out adorable. So really have fun and experiment with this, and I'm sure you'll be able to make something wonderful for your event. I hope you found this helpful, and please like this video and subscribe so that you get notified of all our future tutorials. If you have any questions, leave them below. And if you have anything you'd like to see a tutorial on, please leave it in the comments. Talk soon. Have a great day.